It's also day 4 of my dog dealing with a sprained wrist, and it's like he doesn't know. He's walking around fine, but like he's been, when I bike him around, he's been like favoring a different paw and it's wearing his nails down to where they bleed, but he's just like, must be outside and go places. So he still wants to go, and I can't take him anywhere, and it's like he's still fucking, and he already spends most of the day just like, you're home, I'm home, why the fuck aren't we going outside? Why am I not chasing down every squirrel as if they killed my grandmother? This is him all day. He's like, but dude, nothing beats having a dog during this whole thing. You can't even, there's not even enough time to explain why it's the greatest. The companionship, he's funny, you can talk to him, he's the best. So look, song from the 70s. I didn't have a 70s era shirt or whatever. I think I have one in LA somewhere, but I wore this. This is a long sleeve Napalm Death shirt. So hard to fucking find. My suggestion, by the way, is metal shirts always worn the best with something that contrasts them, like a fucking techie, nerdy Patagonia thing, or like my go-to is like a old man cardigan. Dude, old man cardigan, Napalm Death, Cannibal Corpse, Metallica, that's a fucking home run. It's all about contrast. Like, whenever you see like dudes with like pastel polo shirts that normally you're like, that's fucking screams golf, but then the guy's covered in tattoos, tell me that doesn't look cool. It does every time. Okay, so song from the 70s. This was hard because fucking all of the 70s. I wonder who made this list. As if he's like as if it's some official list sent by God. So it's a hard one because like all of the 70s is, the Stones, Neil Young, Clapton, Van Halen, Dire Straits, Deep Purple, like all of that's just like 5 of 100 artists. 70s, I think this needs a little bit more thought, but I think the 90s and the 70s are probably all together as decades, the 2 best decades of music since, the turn of the century, of the 20th century. But I don't know which one is better. Arguably the 70s because it led to everything we have in the 90s. But those are the 2 greatest, my favorite decades for music. But I let myself just wake up and go, look at the thing, song from the 70s, what do I got? First artist that came to mind, Neil Young, love him. He's one of my favorites of any decade, any genre, anything. Tons of great albums, very few bad ones except for, not bad, but less than great. From like the 80s when he was under contract and had to just churn out 3 for David Geffen, and he's like, fuck you, take this weird electro synth album, that Trans Am record, which has some good songs. I did Heart of Gold. That's one of my favorite Neil Young songs, and the reason it comes to mind as the one that really moves me is because I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Yeah, not the one in Jacksonville. The fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I went there and I was looking around, and it's a great museum. They have tons of great shit. And I was looking at these glass displays of like instruments and clothing and like handwritten lyrics, and I saw Neil Young's handwritten Heart of Gold lyrics, and I started reading them, and I got like a couple verses in maybe, and I just like started crying for some reason. There was just something about the lyrics and seeing that it was his actual handwriting, and I don't know, it literally moved me to tears. It's a great song. If you haven't gotten into Neil Young and you like anything in that world, start from the beginning. And those first 6, 7 albums, I mean, they're fantastic. They're fantastic. If you don't know a lot about the 70s era of music and want to start somewhere, I always suggest a greatest hits album because there's just so much material. It's like you got to start somewhere. The album that got me into 70s music as a kid that was coming of age in the 90s, the Dazed and Confused soundtrack. That first one, forget it. One of the best movie soundtracks ever. So if you don't know where to start there. If you want a specific artist, Neil fucking Young. See you tomorrow.